He said, and God said to Moses, Moses said, if I go back to Egypt and face Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh that you want me to do this, who am I going to tell him sent me? God said, tell him this. Right here in 14, he said, tell him what? I am that I am. Tell him I am sent you. Why are you using the word I am? Because G-O-D does not justify God. G-O-D just let us know who he is from an earthly perspective. Because he's more than just G-O-D. Huh? I mean, he just give us a name to recognize who he is. But he's greater than that, isn't he? God is greater than any name you can name him. Because he'll be Jehovah Rapha, he'll be a Jehovah Kissittenu, he'll be all of these. He's all of that, but he's more than that. He's God, but he's greater than the name. All right? Moses, you got to go back and you got to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. You got to go back. And then he said in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, he says, he tells them, he said, now look, you got to understand that not many folk gonna love you. Let me show you something. The way you can tell your friends, let me tell you, you ain't got very many friends now. First of all, you might have 2 or 3 in your lifetime. So when you go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 25, and you read it down to chapter 31, you will see yourself in it, right? You're going to see yourself in it. He says to us in 29 that no flesh shall glory in his what? Present. He says in chapter 26, for you have called, brethren, not how many wise men after the flesh. Verse 26, not many what? Noble men are called. Now this is what he says. He says, but God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confine the wise. Look, that's deep now. He said he'll take the guy who you think is stupid and dumb and you've been picking at, laughing at. He'll take him and raise him up and show you up. I went to a church one time, and I told my folk this. I went to a church one time, and the first thing they saw when I walked in, I had my Superfly clothes on, because Superfly was on that time. I had my shirt button up. That's all the kind of clothes I had. And I went to church, and when I walked into church, those same folks that told me to come to church said, you know what, the devil in here today, y'all. Let's pray for him. See, they wanted me to come, but when I did come, how many know they didn't really want me to come? They really didn't want me to come. They wanted me to keep on being a foolish person, but then when God opened up my mind, guess what? Then he turned around and raised me up. The same person they were talking about, then God let me preach to them. You see what God will do? He'll go down in the graveyards of life and shake it up and bring you out of it. Now this is what happened. The boy had left home and got his portion of the goods. Remember the story? And he went to a far country. Remember the story? And then the Bible said, and he spent all his what? All his stuff with righteous living, prodigal. He spent it all. But then when he got down to what? Nothing. How many know sometimes God can't use you until you get down to what? Nothing. When you get down to nothing, that's when you have to turn around and look to the hills from which cometh your help. That's when you find out that all my help come from the Lord. That's when you find out that God is the only one that'll pull me out. That's when you find out that God will feed you when you're hungry, take care of you when you're naked. That's when you depend upon God rather than man. And then the thing about it is, it'll get in your heart. And no matter what folks say, it won't leave because you had experience with God. So, nobody can't turn me away from God. Because I know he's been too good to me. And I come from an alcoholic family. I'm supposed to be on the street right now with a wine bottle in my hand. But see, God can bring you out and turn things around. And then after he turned things around, here's the thing right here in the Bible. He said, after God turned things around, he said, folk will despise you. They hate what God done for you. They can't stand you because of what God. You're supposed to still live in a ragged house. You're supposed to still be on the ground. You're supposed to be the person that we can talk about all day long. But you ain't that person no more. And I told you part 2 is, can you use me, God? God, can you use a drunk? Can you use a liar? Can you put me in your program? Can you use me? And God said, come on. And he put it in his word, come unto me. All you that are labored and what? Heavy laden. And I'll give you what? Rest. He said, I want you to come. I want the drunk to come. I want the liar to come. I want the homemonger to come. I want those who other folk despise. I want you to come. Sit at my table. Told David, he said, David, I'll prepare a table for you. And David said, what you talking about? He said, I'll prepare a table for you.